Before this story begins, make a decision. If you're tired of starting things and never finishing them, if you're tired of feeling capable but inconsistent, if you know you're meant for more but your habits are holding you back, then prove it. Like this video right now, not for me, but for the version of you that refuses to stay average. Subscribe if you're serious about mastering your discipline. And in the comments, answer this honestly. What is one habit that's silently ruining your potential? Don't overthink it. Write it. Now let me tell you a story that might change the way you see yourself forever. There was once a young warrior who had talent, strength, and intelligence, but no discipline. Every morning he promised to train harder. Every night he promised to wake up earlier. Every week he promised that the next week would be different, but it never was. One day, his master took him to the edge of a frozen river. The wind was brutal. The water was deadly cold. The master asked him, "Do you want power?" The student said yes. Without warning, the master pushed him into the freezing water. The boy panicked. His body screamed. His mind begged to quit. But when he climbed out, shivering and furious, the master said something he would never forget. "You don't lack strength. You lack command over yourself." That moment changed everything, because discipline is not about motivation. It is about control and discomfort. Here's my question to you, and I want you to answer this in the comments. When things get uncomfortable, do you fight through it or do you escape? Be honest. Because in this story, you're going to see exactly how self-discipline is built, not through inspiration, but through ancient methods that reshape your identity. And in Chapter 1, you'll discover the first method, the one that separates the consistent from the average. Let's begin. His name was Haruto. Haruto wasn't lazy. He was defeated. Every night he promised himself change. Every morning he betrayed that promise. The alarm rang at 5 a.m. And like always, his mind whispered, rest a little more. You deserve comfort. Tomorrow will be better. But Haruto had begun to understand something dangerous. Comfort was not resting him. It was weakening him. One night, after staring at the ceiling in frustration, he remembered a teaching he once heard about ancient samurai. The first decision of the day determines the strength of your spirit. That sentence echoed in his mind. The next morning when the alarm rang, the battle began again. His body felt heavy. His room was cold. His bed felt safe. But this time, he didn't think. He counted backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and he stood up. That single act felt small. But inside him, something shifted. You see, discipline isn't about waking up early. It's about refusing to negotiate with weakness. Haruto created one unbreakable rule. Backhand index pointing right when the alarm rings. I rise immediately. No conversation. No. Because every time you argue with your alarm, you train your mind to delay action. And delay becomes identity. The first week was brutal. His mind attacked him. This is pointless. You won't change, you always fail. But he kept rising. Then he added something else. Immediately after waking up, he would do one uncomfortable thing. Cold water on his face, 20 push-ups, or standing silently for 2 minutes in deep breathing. Why? Because he realized, if you choose discomfort voluntarily, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing discomfort, you become dangerous. After 10 days, something unexpected happened. The alarm didn't feel like pain anymore. It felt like power, because he was no longer waking up to a morning. He was waking up to control, and control builds confidence. Confidence builds discipline. Discipline builds identity. Let me ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. When was the last time you kept a promise to yourself, not to your parent, not to your boss, to yourself? Think about it. Because in Chapter 2, Haruto discovers something far more destructive than oversleeping. A silent habit that is draining your discipline every single day. And most people never even notice it. And once you see it, you can't go back. Haruto believed waking up early was the hardest battle. He was wrong. The real enemy wasn't his bed. It was his distraction. 3 days after mastering his mornings, Haruto felt proud. Stronger, sharper, in control. But by afternoon, everything collapsed. He would check his phone just for a minute. One notification turned into 5. 5 turned into 20 minutes. 20 turned into an hour. By evening, the same frustration returned. How can I win the morning and lose the day? That question haunted him. One evening, while sitting alone in silence, he noticed something terrifying. he noticed something terrifying. He didn't choose distraction. Distraction chose him. His hand moved automatically toward his phone. His mind searched for stimulation. His focus shattered without permission. And then he realized the truth. You cannot build discipline in a distracted environment. It's impossible. Haruto understood something ancient warriors practiced long ago. Control your environment, or it will control you. So he created rule #2, backhand index pointing right, remove temptation before you rely on willpower. Not fight it, remove it. The next day, he did something extreme. He placed his phone in another room while working, turned off non-essential notifications, cleared his desk, set one clear task for the next 60 minutes. No multitasking, no background noise, no excuses. The first 15 minutes felt uncomfortable. His mind begged for stimulation. It wanted scrolling, checking, escaping. But something powerful happened when he resisted. Silence became focus, focus became flow, and flow became progress. Haruto discovered something critical. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to focus. It's about protecting your focus. Most people fail because they rely on motivation in a world designed to distract them. Apps are engineered to capture attention. Are built to keep you scrolling. Comfort is always one tap away. And every time you give in instantly, your brain learns impatience. Impatience destroys discipline. So Haruto added another system. He worked in 60-minute deep focus blocks. After that, he allowed a 10-minute break. Structured effort, controlled reward. Suddenly, his productivity doubled. But more importantly, his self-respect grew. Because now he wasn't just winning the morning. He was winning his attention. And attention is power. Here's something most people never realize. Your life is shaped by what you focus on daily. If your focus is weak, your results will be weak. If your focus is sharp, your life becomes sharp. Let me ask you something honestly. Answer this in the comments. How many hours did you spend on your phone yesterday? Be real, not what you think. What actually happened? Because in Chapter 3, Haruto faces something even more dangerous than distraction. Fear. Fear. The fear of starting something meaningful and failing. And this is where most people quit forever. Chapter 3 will test everything. Haruto had conquered his mornings. He had guarded his focus. But there was one enemy still hiding in the shadows. Fear. Not loud fear. Not dramatic fear. Quiet fear. The kind that whispers, wait until you're ready. I'll learn a little more first. What if you fail? For years, Haruto had dreamed of building something meaningful. A project, a skill, a new version of himself. But he always prepared, planned, searched, watched others succeed. He told himself he was being smart. In reality, he was hiding. One afternoon, while sitting at his clean desk, free from distractions, he felt it again. The resistance to start something important. His heart beat faster. His mind searched for smaller tasks. Maybe clean the room first. Maybe organize files. Maybe start tomorrow. That's when it hit him. Distraction wasn't the only thief. Perfectionism was. And perfectionism is just fear wearing a smart mask. Haruto remembered something he once read about warriors. They didn't wait to feel fearless. They acted while afraid. So he created rule #3, backhand index pointing right, start before you feel ready. No overthinking. No perfect plan. Just the first imperfect step. That day, instead of planning his project again, he opened a blank page and wrote the worst first draft imaginable. It felt uncomfortable. Messy. Embarrassing. But something powerful happened. The fear didn't grow. It shrank because fear feeds on delay. The longer you wait, the bigger it becomes. The moment you act, it weakens. Haruto realized something life-changing. Confidence is not built before action. It is built because of act. Most people wait to feel confident. Disciplined people act to become confident. Over the next week, Haruto focused on one principle: progress over perfection. He didn't aim for greatness. He aimed for consistency. One small step daily, even on bad days, especially on bad days. And slowly something shifted inside him. The fear of starting became excitement. The resistance became rhythm. The doubt became discipline. He understood now. The real battle was never against the alarm, never against the phone. It was against hesitation. Hesitation steals years from people's lives. Let me ask you something powerful, and answer this honestly in the comments. What is one thing you've been postponing for months, maybe years? A skill? A dream? A decision? Why haven't you started? Be honest. Because in Chapter 4, Haruto will face something even deeper than fear, the moment when motivation disappears completely, and that's where real discipline is born. Chapter 4, When Motivation Dies. Haruto used to believe motivation was everything. If he felt inspired, he worked. If he felt energized, he moved. If he felt driven, he improved. But one cold morning, motivation didn't show up. No excitement, no energy, no fire, just silence. He woke up at 5 a.m. like usual, stood up, splashed cold water on his face, but inside, nothing. The spark was gone. His mind whispered something dangerous. What's the point? You've done enough. Skip today. It won't matter. And for the first time since he began this journey, Haruto felt tired in his soul, not physically, mentally. He realized something brutal. Motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. If discipline depends on motivation, it will collapse. That day, instead of pushing harder, he sat quietly and asked himself one question. If I don't feel like doing this, who decides what happens next? His emotions or him? That question changed everything. Haruto understood something warriors mastered centuries ago. You don't rise to the level of motivation. You fall to the level of your systems. So he created Rule #4. Backhand index pointing right. Do the minimum standard, no matter how you feel. Not maximum effort, not heroic intensity. Just the non-negotiable baseline. If he didn't feel like working 2 hours, he worked 30 minutes. If he didn't feel like exercising fully, he did 20 push-ups. If he didn't feel like deep focus, he did 1 focused block. The goal was simple: never break the chain. Because once you skip one day, your brain learns escape. And escape becomes habit. Haruto discovered something powerful. Discipline is strongest on days you feel weakest. Anyone can act when inspired. Few act when empty. That's the difference. Days passed. Motivation returned sometimes, disappeared again. But now it didn't matter. Because he was no longer emotional driven. He was identity driven. I am someone who does what must be done, even when tired, even when bored, even when unseen, and something unexpected happened. Peace. Not excitement, not hype, calm certainty. He no longer needed to feel powerful. He was stable. Let me ask you something honestly. Answer this in the comments. What do you do when motivation disappears? Do you stop or do you lower the standard but continue? Be real, because in Chapter 5, Haruto faces the final and most dangerous enemy of all, success. The moment when things start working and discipline begins to fade, and most people never recover from that stage. Chapter 5 will decide everything. Haruto finally felt it, progress. His mornings were sharp, his focus was controlled, his work was consistent. People began noticing the change. You look different. You seem more serious. What are you doing these days? For the first time in years, he felt ahead. And that's when the real danger appeared. Comfort disguised as success. One morning, after weeks of discipline, he told himself, "You've earned a break." It sounded harmless. Logical. Deserved. He slept in, just once. The next day, it was easier to do it again. Not fully quitting, just loosening the standard. He still worked, but less intensely. Still focused, but checked his phone more often. Still trained, but skipped the hard reps. Nothing dramatic. Just small compromises. And small compromises are invisible at first. That week, something inside him shifted. The edge dulled, the fire softened, the sharpness faded. Haruto realized something terrifying. Success makes you relax. Relaxation makes you casual. Casual makes you average. He understood now. Discipline isn't built once. It must be protected daily. He remembered a lesson from ancient warriors. The moment you believe you have mastered yourself, you begin losing control. So he created Rule #5. Backhand index pointing right, act like a beginner, even when you're winning. He reset his mindset. No pride, no ego, no "I've made it." He returned to basics. Wake immediately, deep focus blocks. Minimum standards on bad days, no emotional negotiation. But this time with humility, because he understood something deeper now. Discipline is not about intensity. It's about identity maintenance. You don't rise once and stay there. You choose it daily. Haruto stopped chasing progress. He focused on protection, protecting his mornings, protecting his focus, protecting his standards. And slowly, something powerful formed inside him. Stability, not hype, not motivation, not excitement. Just unshakable rhythm. He no longer felt extreme highs or crushing lows. He felt steady. dangerously steady. Let me ask you something honestly, and answer this in the comments. Have you ever improved your life and then slowly slipped back into old habits? What caused it? Comfort? Ego? Overconfidence? Be honest, because in the final chapter, Haruto faces the ultimate test, a moment where everything he built could collapse in a single decision. And this decision will determine whether discipline becomes temporary or permanent. Chapter 6 ends the journey. It didn't happen slowly. It happened in one moment. Haruto received an offer, a comfortable opportunity, good money, easy work, flexible schedule. But there was a condition. It required him to abandon the structure he built. Late nights, irregular mornings, constant social environments, no fixed focus blocks. Relax, they told him. You're disciplined now. You won't lose it. That sentence echoed in his mind. You won't lose it. But Haruto knew something they didn't. Discipline is not permanent. It is maintained. He went home that night and sat in silence. Two versions of himself stood in front of him. The old Haruto, chasing comfort, reacting to emotions, easily distracted. And the new Haruto, structured, calm, focused. The offer wasn't about money. It was about identity. He asked himself the hardest question of his life. Who am I becoming? Not what feels good. Not what sounds impressive. Not what others expect, but who am I becoming? He imagined 6 months ahead. If he accepted, maybe more comfort, more freedom, less resistance, but also weaker mornings, less sharp focus, slower growth. If he refused, discomfort, structure, resistance, but growth, control, self-respect. That's when he understood the final truth. Every day, life tests your identity quietly, not with dramatic battles, with simple choices. Sleep in or wake up, scroll or focus, comfort or growth. The final enemy wasn't fear. It wasn't distraction. It wasn't even success. It was compromise, small compromises that slowly reshape who you are. Haruto stood up, picked up his phone, typed a message, and declined the offer. Not because it was wrong, but because it wasn't aligned with the man he was becoming. That night, he felt something deeper than motivation, clarity. He understood now, discipline is not about pain. It's not about suffering. It's not about forcing yourself endlessly. It is about alignment. When your daily actions match your future identity, discipline becomes natural. Haruto didn't celebrate. He didn't feel extreme emotion. He simply woke up at 5 p.m. the next day. Without negotiation, without drama. And that was the real victory. Because the final stage of discipline isn't intensity. It's normalcy. It becomes who you are. Now let me ask you something. And this time, answer seriously in the comments. If a comfortable opportunity forced you to sacrifice your growth, would you take it? Yes or no? No explanation. Just your answer. Because at the end of the day, your life will reflect that choice, and so will your discipline.